even notice.
Hey friends, today we're going to talk about adulting and the damsel in distress. We're Rebecca and Brad, partners in love and friends first. Friends. We've been married for 18 years and we've decided to break things up.
Join us for some honest conversations about being real people in the small and big moments so we can all create great relationships together.
So, this is a story about last weekend and Sunday night. I'm looking over my schedule. There's a part of my schedule that has really not been working. And I was feeling a little overwhelmed about like the amount of care my kids are taking because I've been really like working with them to keep their rooms clean, to keep up with their homework, and it's been taking some good elbow grease on me. And I sometimes want to just avoid it, but it's like I'm really clear that it's important right now in our family's evolution to, get sharper, cleaner, finish our things. So I've been putting in some good work, but I was just feeling a little exhausted, a little worn from COVID. And I was anticipating a week, and I was anticipating a night in my week, Tuesday nights, that I have a meeting that seems like it never works. The kids are always arguing. So I'm in this meeting and they're sitting there bickering, and they come in, can you help me? She's made me, if you're parents, that kind of stuff. But I was feeling desperate. We don't have a lot of childcare options right now. And Tuesday night is Brad's night to have alone time. And I was trying to make up reasons in my mind why he should help me on Tuesday nights. And I get into this mode sometimes with this sort of old state of being where it's like, I really need my stuff. I'm desperate. And also what had been happening the last couple of weeks is I'd really been focusing on the kids, focusing on our family, and in small moments, not ignoring my own needs, and also not really shaping to get enough alone time for myself. So if there was an opportunity to have alone time and the kids are like, well, I need help with my homework, instead of saying, hey, I'll do it another time with you, or no, not now, and or you can figure it out, or something, instead of setting it up well ahead of time, I kept just sort of reflexively saying, okay, I'm being a good mom right now and I'm going to do that. So I'd been worn thin. And then I come to this conversation and I'm just feeling like, oh my gosh, this is something that's really difficult. And I don't know how it's going to work. He's got to help me. He's the dad. He's got to help me. And I started just feeling a little rigid about this. And I had talked to a girlfriend too, and she's like, oh, he could help there. Of course, she doesn't know the whole story and the whole balance, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, she's right, So we get into this conversation. I'm like, hey, Brad, what would you think about Tuesday nights and saying goodnight to the kids and being with them a little bit? Because it's really not working. So all of that seems innocent enough. But then he was like, no, this is my alone time. I really need this time. And then he was like, hey, how else could we do it? I know this is a need. And he was responding like in a creative way with me. But I was stuck in that poverty mind of like, it's not going to work. I need to get my stuff. And I wasn't thinking creatively. So we sort of ended with not really having a good solution. And then I was feeling a little resentful. And then we went to a coaching session together, and I was sharing about this, and it was just kind of crappy because I realized with the help of my coach, I was totally just like trying to manhandle him and get what I needed from him, disregarding who he is as a person and how we're a team, how valuable his alone time is, and like I was not able to think creatively because I had been shorting myself over the last several weeks in some essential nourishments. And when I don't get nourished, I start going into the old pattern of damsel in distress. Hey, Brad, I need your help. Can you save me? I need help in this,
Yeah.
And like, I can't do it myself. I don't have my own spine. And I don't have a creative or resourceful mind. I'm just kind of a narcissist, focus on, I don't have enough. I'm overwhelmed. This is too much with COVID and blah, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you guys relate. We can have a lot of challenges, but if I'm going after him to fill my every need, boy, it's trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so check out this diagram that I made representing my first state of mind where I was really attached to a specific outcome and pushing to make that outcome happen. You can see all the information flow was bouncing off of me because I had walls up and only wanted what I wanted, a tunnel vision. And I was only open to getting sort of that very specific thing and thinking it would solve my problem. This very closed system versus having memory of our partnership and our friendship, and that there is enough, there's plenty, we can work things out, and that open mind allows information flow back and forth to organize to a different to organize different possibilities and make things possible that I didn't realize before would work well.
Yeah. Well, when you brought up the conversation in the first place, it was like I started to have this feeling like you were like, well, we could do maybe this or that, but I'm like, okay, well, when are you just gonna drop the bombshell of like you have to do this, or it felt like there was like the whole time I'm like, I know there's something that she wants to have happen or me to do that you're just not saying. So I'm just sitting there like, all right, well, why don't you just say whatever it is, and because when you're with somebody for a long time, like we've known each other a long time, and we're actively working on becoming more real with each other, really focusing on becoming real people, friends together, and so forth, it starts to become, you start to notice these things more obviously. And not like I was like, oh, she's doing this thing and I could have laid it out, but I was just like, something is not feeling right with this whole situation. And so, but I'm like, all right, well, maybe we switch these days around and do this. And you're like, well, no, I can't do that because of this reason. And I'm like, well, what about like this other way of switching things around? And you're like, no, I can't do that. And so at that point, I could feel that there was this invitation to try to like just set myself aside and agree to it. Or like, it just like what you're saying about the damsel in distress, really strikes me, because it was like the invitation was to try for me to try to like fix your problem.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's like I was wise enough not to just do that. And then basically after I gave a couple ideas and you shut them down, I was like, all right, I don't know what else to do. There's no solution. You don't seem solution minded, so forget it. And that's kind of new for me. I don't know if you guys can relate to wanting to try to fix the problem or that type of thing, but it's like in this case, I was just like, this isn't working, so it's off. I don't want to change the schedule at all, because you're not open to these ideas, and I'm not going to just set myself aside to fix your problem.
Yeah. So it was funny because once I was unraveling what had happened, I also found a moment or a place where I was scared about a business I'm starting and feeling like going into that overwhelmed basket of like, how am I going to do something new? How am I going to be able to like raise the funds I need to start this business and really do it when I have, with the kids and my schedule being so full, and instead of like reaching out to my coach or talking to some of my friends that are strong and, have their own businesses and stuff, I just sort of went into like feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can do it or not, and not talking about it and sort of filling up my hopelessness basket instead of like getting stronger with my disciplines. so that my mind was clean and I was communicating and staying sort of moving. I started kind of shrinking into like, I gotta grab after mine. So those are like really like good cues for me to in the future notice, am I keeping up my meditation practice? Am I keeping up enough alone time? Am I really telling myself the truth and having stories in my mind that are hopeful as opposed to like the not enough scenario? But I think these are important things that we're figuring out as a couple, and I know not just ourselves that this can be really common in relationships and with women to be sort of trained to go to their partner for things instead of like, really making it happen and being an executive and a leader and kind of shaping things. So,
well, what I think of too is that, when you're talking about, like whenever you're up to making a change, like you're
right.
talking about this business and, bringing that in, that, all of our lives are always full, whether you look at other people and you're like, oh, they have so much free time or whatever the case may be. It's like everybody's schedule from wake up to go to sleep is full. It might not be full of like specific things that you're like, oh, meetings or whatever, but you fill it up. And so if you're doing something new, there's never just like an open space. Like that's like this weird illusion that we have, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had, you probably can relate, where you're like, oh yeah, I could do this thing as soon as I have time, but there's never like open time. Like that just doesn't exist in the world, And so it's understanding and realizing that whenever you're starting something new, you're going to have to shape those things into your day. And so like when you're talking about the invitation of the kids, because they're always going to have some need that they want. So if you're just there like thinking that that's what you always have to do, then you'll never structure out the space and the time. And it was sort of like that was what you were finding yourself doing and not meeting your needs. And so you were inviting me to do that by giving up part of my Tuesday. It's like, oh, you could do this. And I'm like, well, that would basically be the whole time, would be doing the kids' bedtime and so forth, It wouldn't just be like this little section, having that space to be, self-oriented in your thinking that's like, it has to be bordered, it can't be 20 minutes and then 20 minutes of this and 20. It's like you get all fractured.
I don't understand.
Yeah, right. Well, let me tell you. Right. So I mean, it's like that was an interesting thing too, to consider that you were inviting me to do what you had very much been doing to solve your problem, rather than taking the lead in your own, schedule to create those times.
Right. And really valuing my venture enough to make it important in shaping my day and shaping my moments. Because like you said, it will take time. So it's like, what do I need to do to nourish and to hold space for this movement forward, and not letting the old things fill up my day. So that's cool. All right. Do you guys relate? Tell us your stories or comment down below.
Hit the subscribe button. Put the thumbs up.
Thank you for watching. We will see you next time.
Take care now.
Bye.